It was the year 1939. Autumn had begun in Europe. The yellow leaves of the trees were flying in the wind, but something else was also drifting through the air: unease, fear, and the looming shadow of destruction. People were busy in their daily lives, unaware that the world was heading toward a catastrophic war that would change history forever. On September 1, 1939, Germany attacked Poland. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Party, wanted to establish a new world order, one that was meant only for the German race. Hitler's ideology was dangerous, fueled by hatred, racism, and the intoxication of power. Following Germany's invasion, Britain and France immediately declared war against Germany. Thus began the Second World War. In the early days, Germany rapidly captured several European countries. This swift and aggressive strategy was called Blitzkrieg, meaning lightning war. France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway all fell under German control. Britain stood alone in resistance. London was relentlessly bombed, and people were forced to take shelter in underground bunkers, but their morale remained high. Meanwhile, in the East, Japan began seizing control of China. It aspired to become a powerful Asian empire. Then, on December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the American port of Pearl Harbor. This shocking move pulled the United States into the war. Now nearly the entire world was involved in the conflict. On one side were the Allied powers: Britain, the Soviet Union, the United States, and China, and on the other the Axis powers: Germany, Italy, and Japan. This war was not confined to the battlefield. Citizens of every country became part of it. Bombings of cities, food shortages, mass migrations, famine, and fear. Life everywhere was on the edge of death. Over 10 million soldiers and tens of millions of civilians lost their lives. But the most horrifying aspect was the Holocaust, the systematic genocide of Jews. Under Hitler's orders, millions of Jewish men, women, and children were imprisoned in concentration camps, starved, and killed in gas chambers. It was the darkest chapter in the history of humanity. On the other front, the Soviet Union resisted German forces in Eastern Europe. The Battle of Stalingrad, which claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, turned the tide of the war. The German army began to retreat. The Allied forces secured victories in Africa and Italy. Then came June 6, 1944, D-Day, when the Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy in France and re-established their foothold in Western Europe. Germany was now trapped from both sides. By 1945, Germany's condition had severely deteriorated. Russian forces marched into Berlin. On April 30th, Hitler committed suicide. Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945. The war in Europe was over, but in the East, Japan was still resisting. To defeat Japan, the United States used a weapon that shook the world. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, and on August 9 on Nagasaki. Thousands of people were incinerated in moments. Millions were injured, sick, or left homeless. Finally, Japan also surrendered on August 15th. The official end of the war came on September 2nd. The war had ended, but its effects were felt for decades. Millions of children were orphaned, towns were destroyed, economies were devastated. The world witnessed firsthand how hatred, racism, and the misuse of power could degrade humanity. Learning from this experience, the United Nations was established to maintain peace in the world. The Second World War taught us a crucial lesson: war can never be the solution to problems. Destruction, sorrow, and the loss of human lives, that is the inevitable outcome of war.